It should start. Okay, so welcome to Teachers Teaching Teachers. Had this idea to invite two teachers, maybe more, and maybe students too, once in a while, and for us to get out of the way and let those two teachers kind of dialogue with each other. And so I thought, let's invite my favorite two teachers to start us off. Hi,
Debbie.
Debbie. Nice to see you. So Bonnee Breese Bentum, Dr. Bonnee Breese Bentum is with us tonight. She is changing schools. I don't know if you want to announce that or not, but I'll say it quickly. But she's a teacher in Philadelphia, and Sam Reed is a teacher in Philadelphia at the youth school. Why don't we keep introducing ourselves? I'm Paul Allison from New York City. David?
I'm David Cole. I'm in Berkeley, California.
Jess, nice to see you.
I'm Jess Early. I'm in Tempe, Arizona.
What's the temperature there? We can compete
Today
with you.
is actually, this week's been cool for us. It's only 102.
Only
102.
Oh,
we got to 101 yesterday, so
Yes.
I heard.
Yeah. So when it gets up there, I do think of you.
Totally.
Yeah.
You guys have more humidity than we do too. So
yes.
Yeah. It was like, yeah. Philadelphia's been hot too, right? Yes, yeah.
Murderously hot.
Debbie,
Hi,
so nice to see you. It's been a while. Yeah.
Northern California, not hot.
Lucky you.
All right. So Sam and Bonnee, why don't you say more about yourselves a little bit? Who wants to go first?
First, I just want to give Bonnee the recognition as Dr. Triple B. I love the alliteration of
yes.
Triple B's, and we've been partners in justice for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Sam, she's Triple B and you're Sam the third. So there you go.
exactly. So so super excited to chop it up alongside of her. And
once again.
Yeah, we've been doing this work in justice and education, but and here's the thing, Bonnee was one of the premier proponents of hey, we can't get behind the 8 ball with this AI. We need to be leading, and our kids that we teach that are often left out can't be left out. And she's been advocating that from day one, right? And so yes, just props to Dr. Triple B. That's all.
Oh, thanks, Sam. And I have to give props to Sam too, because he helps me. He pushes me to the other side of my wall, because sometimes I only look at it from one side or another, and Sam will have me jump up on the fence and look at it from both sides, and in different issues. So what Paul was introducing is I am about to take a gifted itinerant teacher position for the school district of Philadelphia, because the school district got spanked by the state that they were not offering gifted services to students across the district, specifically students of color and second language speakers, second language being other than English. They weren't offering gifted services and GIEPs. So now they're instituting this new thing. 8 teachers are needed across the district, and I'm one of those that they are looking at and have chosen. I keep saying they chose me. They didn't send me my letter yet, but I already know I have the position, because there's nobody else like me in the school district of Philadelphia. So they certainly need me in that position.
Bonnee, quick question. How many schools will you serve?
They don't even have it. So we're going to design the program, which is the person that I am. I'm into designing programs. So now I'm going to design this. But I look forward to offering gifted students across the district, wherever I'm serving writing partners. I got to talk to Paul about this, but I have to see my way in and not out.
Bonnie, say a little more about where you've been teaching.
Oh, I've been teaching at Science Leadership Academy at Bieber, which is a special admit magnet school in Philadelphia. I've taught 12th graders and most recently 11th graders. I taught them English language arts. However, my dissertation, my degree is in global education, training, and development. My dissertation focused on encouragement and support given to Black girls to pursue STEM studies because, they just aren't pushed in that way. They push more in the social sciences. And writing partners helped me solidify what it was that I researched about and wrote about. But I teach English language arts, but what's interesting, you all are here, and for the recording's sake, in my classroom, I teach not just English. I find ways to connect science, music, art, and also civics in my curriculum. So when we talk about just writing, because sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have done this with writing, but my thoughts are so just beyond the written word. It's hard for me to come back to sometimes the basics of reading and writing.
Cool. Sam, more about you.
Yeah.
Where
So
you teach?
I teach at the U School where I was previously. I said before we got on the recording, I've been on a sabbatical for a year. I took off a year to kind of plot out the next 10 years, and but while doing that, I had the pleasure of collaborating with one of my colleagues. We got an award from 2892 project, which is sponsored by the National Geographic Society, and we were helping students to create story maps of untold stories in Philadelphia, which also connects with the work Bonnie and I are doing. Like Bonnie and I, we have so many interconnections, is amazing. But we're doing another Philadelphia writing project where we're also exploring the hidden stories in Philadelphia, which next year we're going to be continuing that work. And because we got the 250th anniversary of our nation and Philadelphia being the birthplace, we want to uncover some of those stories that don't get told and let our young people do the leading in that. So we're excited about that work. And Bonnie and I also worked in the Digital Discourse Project with the National Writing Project, the Philadelphia Writing Project, and the University of Pennsylvania, where it was like a 5-year process where we were doing deep dives into creating, annotating, understanding how to use digital discourse in the humanities space primarily. And so, yeah, I feel fortunate to have like all these like interconnections with Bonnie and Paul, and as we were developing our digital discourse practice, AI came about, and like we leaned into it, and Paul was already tinkering and playing around with writing partners, so we started using writing partners as a way to figure out how we can engage with artificial intelligence, but also just how we can engage with writing across the curriculum with our students. And so I'm excited to go back to school in September, and see ways in which we can deepen our connect. I'm fortunate where I'm at a school where my principal, like, because we've done this professional development as well as dissemination. We see that all schools aren't equal when it comes to AI. Some places are anti AI, and some places. I'm at a school where the principal sees the value in it, and so we want to figure out how we can leverage using artificial intelligence, using platforms like the writing partners to engage our students in becoming AI literate as well as deeper critical thinker, deeper civically engaged, and I'm excited, and I'm really really blessed.
Sam, I want to jump in before Paul does, because we started writing partners is the after effect of Now Comment and Youth Voices. So we started with Now Comment, and Youth Voices was the interconnection between us, our students, and AI and Paul. And through digital discourse, the work of digital discourse, we kind of pushed the envelope for Paul to be included, because they were talking digital discourse, social chatting, social making, and what's the third one? Social annotation.
Sanitation.
And so those three things, alongside and parallel to AI, just made a whole lot of sense. So, Paul was brought on with us. And really, once I met Paul face to face, we never stopped communicating from that day to this day.
Yeah, because I've been telling Bonnie about the platform for a minute, and she's like, I don't know if I have the capacity or time. I'm like, try it.
So I want to invite. Thank you for jumping in before I jump in. I appreciate that. The but Debbie, Jess, and David, let's call this the introductory 15 minutes. You have any thoughts or questions you want to ask our two guests?
I actually was curious about how your district identifies gifted. Is it self-identification? Is it kids that are a pain in the neck for the teacher in the classroom? How do they? Is there some formula they use?
The formula that they've been using is parents beg them to get their children tested and then written up with a GIEP. However, there is a huge law, Chapter 16 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, alongside the Department of Education, that they should have been following. And Debbie, that's a great question, because after I looked at this program and I was reading everything in Chapter 16, I know students that should be listed
Yeah,
as gifted. I know them.
yeah.
Um, and this year, hey, Cantrell, and this year I had a student who would write a sentence that you couldn't read. But if you read his sentence starting from the middle of his sentence and then go left and on the right, then the sentence made perfect sense. But you had to know how to jigsaw that sentence out. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. And I was like, wow, what kind of genius is that? Because to him, it made really perfect sense. I could talk more about that, but I won't go on and on and on, Deb, because I asked him, had he ever been tested as dyslexic? And he had not, but he hadn't been deemed as gifted either. And those types of students at my school usually score advanced on a standardized test.
Thank you. I've taught gifted for a good chunk of my life, and I love them because they are so diverse. We say gifted, but they're all over the map,
Yes.
and glorious to work with.
Yes.
Lots of fun.
I'm looking forward to it, Deb. And you're getting ready to be my best friend next. Right? Because I was first introduced to gifted programming by teachers in Pittsburgh when Sam and I were participating in the Yale National Initiative, and we were writing curriculum. And there were gifted teachers out of Pittsburgh that were really doing it. And I said, well, how are you all doing that? And we're in the same state, and we're not doing anything in Philadelphia. Well, here it is. Here it is. And how many years ago was that, Sam? 20 years. We were at Yale in 2005. 20 years ago.
Cool. Anybody else want to jump in with a stray thought, or before we move on to a question that I have? All right. So, it's okay to interrupt or say whatever you'd like. So the idea for this question actually came from a conversation that Bonnee and I had, and we started to think about, and golden moment is not the right, it's too precious. But if we could hear a moment in time in your teaching when AI was just working right for you in your classroom, could you tell that story? Could we start sort of that way? I see heads shaking, which
Yeah,
sounds good.
I'll jump on it
You'll
because
start first.
yeah, because I had so this student actually we went and when we do dissemination often I like to bring students and Bonnee the same way. We like to bring students alongside of us because if we're talking about our practice and we don't have the young people there, it's not really representing them well. So we were doing a Jackie Robinson values essay, and I showed this. The students had to write a draft before we could let let them engage with AI with it. So they had their drafts. Then they went and got feedback. They got feedback from AI, and then the students like, wow, this I literally the students like, man, this is like having a mini read because I did some prompt engineering or customizing the AI.
Was that ChatGPT at that
Yeah,
point?
this
Or
was ChatGPT at the point
Mhm.
to give her the feedback, to give her the kind of feedback that I would give her. So she's like, man, this is like having a little read right sitting right next to me, and her literally saying that in class was like, this is really really good. And then when we went and did our presentation, she was like, yeah, ChatGPT has been a game changer because Mr. Reed, um, he's often busy, and there are 30 something odd kids in the classroom, and sometimes I need to keep moving. And so now with ChatGPT, I'm able to make my own pace and keep going, and then accelerating my writing and everything. So that was like kind of like my aha moment when the students like, I got a mini read. This AI is providing me a mini read right next to me.
Hey Sam, could you have your AI answer your phone for you there, or no? I'm just
Yeah,
teasing. I'm just teasing you. I'm just,
no,
yeah.
I was ignoring it.
No, you know. Okay. So, any more about this story? I didn't mean to interrupt. You went.
No,
That's a good start. Yeah.
that was but yeah, so because part of it again, when you think about process of use, I'll speak to the process of using AI because often people like, oh, they're going to use it for cheating. Oh, like if you have a process that's going to scaffold where kids need it. And again, we did a draft. Everybody did a draft, and we did the draft on hard copy. Then they transferred that draft and they typed it up, and then I showed them how to use the prompts to get the feedback that was going to help them reach the rubric standard that we were shooting for that piece of writing. So again, I mean, this it's kids their original ideas. They've improved it, and I'll maybe Bonnee will speak to the point of like how do we make sure because again some kids had there was some tension with some kids who were like, oh, this AI is not writing the way I write, it's not speaking the way I speak, and like how do you prompt it to give more your authentic voice and move towards that, and Bonnie's been a big advocate for that as well, and I'll let her kind of speak to that some as well.
Well, interestingly, the aha moment for me was at the end when my principal told me not to use it anymore in my classroom. But because in the beginning, I mean, Paul and I, we were hitting it. We were in the playground of this platform daily with all of my students, 105 young people, 120 young people, all my classes. And we started with the debates. So that was an aha moment for me. The presidential debate, the vice presidential debate, because I'm really, I'd say I'm a Philadelphian, so the word John is a noun, person, place, or thing. Politics is my side, John. I'm a teacher by profession, but I am also heavily involved in politics. So here I was hosting live watch parties, debate watch parties, and my students were live watching the debate using writing partners and talking back and forth with each other, also using fact checked and things like that. So that was like, woo! And then some of the language that was coming back, it was just so much that was being fed to them. I said, Paul, it has to come down. You know, these young people think in 60-second sound bites. I want them to get the robustness of the information, but it has to be almost in smaller chunks in order for them to really be saturated in the information that they were learning based upon either their idea or a question that they had. And then next, I moved on to, we read two different novels because I'm crazy. In every class, we read two different novels. Long Division by Kaisi Lehman, and then Say I'm Dead by E. Dolores Johnson. And E. Dolores Johnson is my soror, and I was introduced to this book. And so we bought it. And so the students were reading, annotating, questioning, and then we started the text to image prompting straight from there. At first, you know, I mean, every time I complained about something, Paul, why does this have to be like this? He would just go in and change it. So, as Sam mentioned about language, one of my big things was, wait a minute, this does not sound like the people that these young people talk to. Why does this have to sound like somebody else from another country, well, no, another state, or people who don't look like them, who don't sound like them? So we really worked on it, and I feel like Paul has refined it, because at first it was too many yo's and too many hey's and all that, but then we came away from that and just designed it. Now that was another aha moment. So that was second semester. Third semester, what did I do in third semester? I forgot. Oh, this is with the work with Sam. Um, we're doing this postdoctoral research at University of Penn, revisioning the invisible histories of Black Philadelphians. I was born at an all-Black hospital, Mercy Douglas Hospital, that most people in Philadelphia don't even know it existed. Black owned, operated, all the professionals, everything. So I had students finding out about that. On the other side of that, the STEM part, I was working with a science foundation and organization through Fox Chase Cancer Center called ECLOS Institute. So, well, I was just really crazy. And that's why I say sometimes it's really hard for me to stick just with the basics of reading and writing, because I take students on a lot of different journeys through the written word. I always justify it by having the written word there, so my principal can't argue too much with me about why am I teaching this and why am I doing that, because I always attach it to literature. And then and here, when they needed writing partners the most to help them with the college application essay, he was telling me, I'll write you up, Bonnee, if I want. So my thing to that was, young people, now you know you have writing partners available to you. If you want to use it, you can. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. So I really didn't teach them how to question and edit their college application essays by use of writing partners, but I gave them just tidbits of information. But I used it this year throughout the entire year. But because I was closely tied to Paul, and then Paul is just as crazy as I am, because he would answer my students' emails at night, in the middle of the night. They would email, they would have a problem, and he would answer them. And they would say, oh, that's been too such and such happened. But Paul helped me. I'm all right. I'm like, oh my goodness. I had to tell Paul, stop doing that and let them sleep.
Bonnee, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Just like for discourse, again, where I talked about like different principals, different school leaders have different feelings towards AI, and I know that's this is not just isolated in our schools. So what do you think is the opposition to AI from your school leader, and what to make other school leaders more open to it? Like what do you think is the cause of it?
So specifically at my school, it was one parent who kept emailing him. And that one parent is a college professor.
Aha.
So, you know, she was really digging in. And her daughter was digging in too.
You
However,
mean like
her daughter,
like her daughter wanted to use it?
no, her daughter didn't want to use it
Oh,
anymore because of the environmental concerns of using AI.
yeah, they did bring that up. Mhm.
Yeah, but you know, that was brought up to me. But as a black person, I wasn't looking at that. Like, come, what are you talking about? Environment. However, when I went to the climate summit with the National Writing Project just a month ago, it came up again. And I began to listen and hear what they were saying. However, writing partners doesn't do the writing for you. And this is what I was trying to, it doesn't do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. And sometimes that pisses me off about writing partners for me. It really does. Because I sometimes I just need the fast, easier, softer way and let me pick and choose what I want to use. The other selling point for young people, because at first, Sam, just like you said, they thought they were like, oh, you gonna let us cheat? We're gonna cheat if we use AI. Oh, that, and then after they found out,
It
oh,
was
you
more work.
hmm they had to do more reading, they had to do more questioning, they had to do more writing and responding, and they couldn't just respond with a yes or no. They were open-ended questions. So I even had to teach that too, the difference between an open-ended and closed-ended question and writing good questions. So we did lessons like that too. But I forgot the first part of the question because I wanted to ask answer.
You went in many different directions, and that's fine. And Sam, I love that you're making the dialogue happen. So
And
keep going.
I wanted
But I want to invite others in too. Is go ahead. Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
I wanted
because
to give a quick,
Sam and I haven't spoken to each other in a very long time.
Good.
So, you know, he just came back from Botswana, and this is my friend Paul.
I wanted to go back to the origin of you voices in the AI modules that we use. That was another aha moment, and I'm gonna borrow Bonnie's John. My John, where Bonnie's John is politics, my John is hustle. And in order to teach my students how to hustle, I have to make them really get anchored to having like clear goals and visions around what they who they are, what they want to do. And so we do this activity called developing a why statement. And with you voices, our students they drafted up their why statements, but then we use the AI mojos to help them revise it and even like give them feedback on the perspective from different perspectives. And that was another aha moment because when the students start seeing their why statements after they took them through the AI mojo, they were more resonant with them. Particularly one particular student who's like a current student at Lincoln University on a full ride scholarship, and like that, her why statement is still anchoring her today, and
Wow.
it's just wonderful. So I just wanted to acknowledge.
Say
And
more.
that's
What is a
interesting.
why?
Before you jump in, Paul, I forgot we used to do that. And then we had our students talking to one another on Youth Voices until they didn't really realize that it was a young person talking to another young person. They thought an adult had jumped into the conversation. But I'll be quiet. Paul remembers all that stuff. I don't even remember what we were doing then.
Yeah, I'm not going to jump in. Anybody else want to jump in? Thoughts? I
Do
was
you
going
know,
to ask Sam. Go ahead. Good.
what's so interesting to me is that as we talk about this, the meta thinking that's going on, it's going on in a dialogue almost all the time in everything you're describing. I mean, it's so valuable for kids to reflect and stop and think. And yet, most of the time, teachers think reflection is something you assign, you get it back, and that's it at the end of a project. I used to do reflection where, we'd say at the end of a research project, what would you do next time? And year after year, I get the same stupid reflections that said, next time I'll start earlier.
Right.
And this so makes it in the moment. You're constantly interacting both with the kids, your own thinking, and AI. And it just breaks that down into such a more valuable way of thinking and rehearsing, talking.
And also, Deb, I find I would have to convince the young people that you're the smartest person in the room, even when you're using AI, because AI cannot do anything without you prompting it. And that's how I always call them prompt engineers. You are engineers because you are making something happen based upon your thoughts and the written word. And then voila, and so just selling them on that point. And a couple of the students were honest with me and said, yeah, I was mad that writing partners didn't do it for me. I was mad, but they got through it.
We could stay on that a little bit. I mean, the next, there were only 3 questions I had in mind. One was the golden moment and see where that goes. The second one is road, like hurdles, roadblocks, things that were difficult. And so you're kind of there. And then the third one is what you would want AI to do for you now. But so let's go to the second one a little bit, and just Bonnee, I know that you have your own practice with AI. You check out ChatGPT, you check out Claude, you have and
Perplexity, I use a lot of them. And that's, so is that a hurdle or something?
no. So the hurdle that I was trying to pick up on the students when they use writing partners and it asks them to go deeper on something, or it doesn't give them the answer or it doesn't do the writing for them. There's a frustration there. But I want to wonder if maybe we're being too like English school teacher, right?
Mm,
And
Yeah, let me
yeah.
hop in on. So the thing that I observed as we were digging into our AI practice is that, again, the kids that were
no.
the kids that were excelling were the kids that had the higher literacy levels at our school. And our school is an open enrollment school. We're not a special admission school, so we got kids at like all levels. And not the like Bonnee, she got varied learners in her school as well. But the obstacle was like supporting the kids at the lower levels. I'll just be honest, supporting the kids at the lower levels, because the kids that at the higher levels, once you gave it to them, boom, they can fly. The kids at the lower levels,
Yeah.
if you couldn't, you have to scaffold it, and then you almost need to sit next to them, guide
Absolutely.
them step by step, and so which makes it important to kind of like. So the thing I'm looking at this coming year is like kind of going back to at the U school. When we first started the U school, we were heavy into like trying to develop like blended learning, where the kids could go at their own pace. And so you have to put videos in place. You have to design the material so the kids can work at the place. So you can have like small group instructions with small groups of kids, and the other kids know where they have to go. And so the deeper, in order for me to get back to those kids, I need to like dig back into like that whole blended teaching practice. Otherwise, that obstacle is going to get the gap is going to get wider between the kids that have the literacy skills and the kids that don't.
And so what I did with that, Sam, toward the end of the year, and this is where the ChatGPT Claude AI came in, because my lower level students, I have students that read on a second grade level at a magnet school, because they're good in something else besides just the basics. I started getting sentence starters for them and maybe having three or just three questions, just answer the question, using two or three sentences. And some of them were very confused by what writing partners was giving them. But then toward the end, when I said they didn't have to use it anymore, Paul designed it to where it was breaking down in color codes, because I also talked to him about vision. Students with visual issues, the type is so small and it all looks the same. So now certain ones have color codes and it breaks it down a little more, but we're still with a tiny font. But that's okay. The color helps so much for the lower level learner. And they're not, they're lower level for one reason or another, but it's nothing low about these young people.
No, in fact, Bonnie, you see that kind of range among gifted. You'll see huge gaps in gifted kids. So you're going to get lower level something and highly gifted in something else. You're going to see that kind of range. You're going to be using those same kind of strategies with gifted kids. And I was thinking in relation to that, actually, that one of the things that I noticed a kid doing in a class the other day was the kid had realized that you could talk on your phone to the GPT and ask your question orally. You didn't have to type it.
Mm.
And this was a kid whose basic problem was output. You know, doing the typing, the writing was hard, but the oral gave the kid like a leg up, and then the kid could edit the oral before it got sent. It was really interesting to see that.
Let me identify that one of them, and I'll use this word, see if I get it right. One of David and my John's, is that close? No?
John.
What is it?
John.
Like
Okay.
jaw with an N. John.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm just fill that word in for is UX UI design, right, around writing partners, and we're trying this summer we got a tiny bit of money to look at that together, and we're trying to figure out somebody to help with that and all. But so if you could help, and I was thinking, Sam, that some of the lower level students that you mentioned who kind of get lost, some of it may be about navigation and finding where to do stuff and all of that. So you're shaking head. So happy to hear any of your feedback on that as well as we go here. Or any other thoughts you're having about what could be improved, what do you want the AI to do better?
Yeah, so the question is like, to the one student's like, oh, I got a mini Mr. Read on the side, where this other student didn't feel like he had a mini Mr. Read on the side. He literally needed me on the side. Like, how do we like engineer that?
So almost engineer
from a user experience, right? Where this young person, she had that feeling like it was doing it for her, but this other one, he didn't have that experience. So because he didn't, like, he doesn't want to engage with it at all, or he just wants me to sit next to him or next to her. And if I'm sitting next to her like that to guide them through that, I might as well. And if, almost now I feel like, okay, let's forget about ChatGPT and let's just do it, because now we're human to human, which is okay as well.
But I think Paul started tapping into that, Sam, because I was on it today, because I was comparing writing partners to ChatGPT and Claude AI and thinking about 7 streams of income for myself. And what it was telling me on one thing, because I want to revamp my website, writing bios for myself. I'm doing all these different things. And I said, okay, well, which AI is going to work better? And today, when I was on it, it was like writing partners was three distinct questions. Now, you might want to answer this question, and then you want to try. And it was just so succinct and very simple to read, that I was like, oh, okay, here we go, Paul, here we go. It's getting better, because that's what young people need sometimes, because they don't even trust their ability of comprehension. They don't trust their ability to springboard from information that's fed to them. And as my voice helps them know that they can do it, and they don't. So as you were talking, Sam, I was like, okay, what kind of voice are we getting ready to add on here?
Hey, Bonnie, when you got that feedback today, did you check how the prompt design, that thinking partner was written? I assume at the
Yes,
back,
specifically chosen.
yeah, which thinking partner was it? Do you know who authored that? Was that one Paul had done, or was it
Yeah,
somebody else?
it was a lot. We do a lot of work together, all of us.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
Kickstarter and Pathfinder.
Okay, got it.
Kickstarter was better than
Mm-hmm.
Pathfinder. And then I started reading other ones to see which one. Now, I was in my personal email account doing this that has the writing partners that the students have versus
Mm-hmm.
my SLA one that has all of them. And I found that great. I was like, yeah, this is better that you only have a few to choose from, because then you don't have to read all these frameworks of what the AI will do, and which
That's
one
right.
you're choosing. So that was a good thing.
There was a PBL cohort that Paul connected with, Andrea Zellner. I think it was in that cohort, Paul. One of the students was talking about their ability just to tune the GPT, the writing partner, so it gave them bullets. Like that
Oh
was
yeah,
their aha moment.
yeah.
Just like, oh, I can make it get feedback to me and make it give me feedback in a format that I want. And that kind of hook, and it's a snowball effect that happens when someone begins to author their own GPT. So it's giving them feedback in formats and in language and structure that they want. And I know you've been doing that with your kids, but I'm just struck again and again by how that's the hook for getting someone to think of it as a tool that's working in their interest.
Mhm. And that is by them. It's by their
Yeah.
design. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I give you a framework of what my expectation is on the goals that I want you to reach as an educator giving you an assignment. Students, at our school, because we're a project-based learning school, students have to think all the time. Students sometimes don't want to think. They want to be
Right.
told what to do and shown step 1, step 2, step 3. So they used to get really angry with me about it. I didn't get too many parent phone calls about that this year. And I'm thinking, now that you said that, I'm wondering if it's because of writing partners, because writing partners gave them the step 1, step 2, step 3. I didn't have to do it.
Right.
It was offered to them, and they chose their own path to success. In everything that we did this year, everything.
Yeah.
So, hey, Paul, I'm going to flip
Yeah.
and give you a question.
Good.
Share with us how you're using writing partners with your weekly planning, and because like I say, I want to like tease that out with my students maybe this summer in the summer program.
I will go look for that. It'll take me a minute. While
No,
I'm
just
doing
like
that,
your reflections on like how's it
just
helping you.
talk about it. So, yeah, okay, I'll talk about. But let me flip it back and say that what I was hoping you and Bonnie would do here toward the end is some big thinking about what you want AI to do for you. And it's okay to within the context of this platform, perhaps, but it could go bigger than that. But so
that's
So
why
Sam
the
has,
goal setting is super important, because like young folks
yeah.
without like direction that's
So
focused and clear and
yeah,
legible.
let me see if I can say this clearly enough, and I haven't thought
Can I
through
say, and
terrible.
before you even say that I don't
Please.
think I'm focused and clear at all in some of the things that I was doing this year. I just was not. I was all over the place because of the excitement that I felt in how this new way of teaching and learning and teaching, and all of us in the classroom were going through it together, even though I bring so much more to the room, but young people brought things to the room too. And then Paul on the sidelines pushing. Well, Bonnie, if you did it like this, then try it like that. Just so what do I want AI to do next? Help me stay grounded.
That's
Stay
interesting.
lane, like stay linear, Bonnie. And I because Paul, I was starting to feel like I was crazy. Like, why am I all over the place? Really? Because there was so much to do and not enough time to get it done.
It also helps you, as I listen to you, it helps you feel okay about not knowing everything and not knowing, how many times have you been in a classroom and you say, I'm going to teach this book and I can tell you the 10 things that a kid is going to say about it, right? And that doesn't exist with AI when you put AI in the equation. So you need to be flexible. You need to have a sense of humor. And you need to recognize that you're co-learning next to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels messy. It feels a lot like what they feel too.
And that's why I'm glad that I'm moving into this gifted program, because I want students to feel okay with how they learn. I want students to feel okay with what they think and what they've been doing, and how they can go from that space to their own stratospheres. Because we close children off oftentimes in classrooms and say to them, if it isn't my way, you can't get the A.
So let me try to summarize your question, Sam, if I could. And I did find a page that I can share, and I think it's public. We can just you can look at it. But for some time now, for a couple of years, I've been thinking about and working with students and so forth here and there about how to use writing partners and AI in a journal, right? So that you're keeping track of your thoughts, but you're also kind of a writing partner could also give you feedback as you're going, and you have this. So it's a journal where you have a partner thinking with you, right? So that's sort of a bigger context that we've been playing with. Um, Sam has introduced me to the full focus planner, and you could say maybe more about it. But it has, I have this, like, I went through a session, a period of doing that on paper. And then I thought, well, wait a second, maybe we could create a template that has Monday, Tuesday, and has all the goals listed in it and so forth. In addition to that, I said, okay, we could also create at the end of the week, there's this whole process where you go through, it takes you through. Some of you may be familiar with this already, but it's a whole process where you reflect on your week. Sam, do you want to say it better than me? You look at your goals, you kind of establish goals for next week, kind of thing. One of the things you said to me, Sam, is I start that on Saturday and I finish it Sunday night and I'm ready on Monday. Kind of. So I created a writing partner that the persona of it is Sam Reed. So I described how Sam Reed talks to me.
Hey!
But also it then goes through all of the questions that the protocol has, right? And so what happens at the end of the week is that there are about 30 interactions I have with that writing partner, um, that helps me refocus and think about what I'm going to do next week, right? Is that fair enough? And then there's a daily kind of track of it. And in that, I often use the improv teammate to just say, hey, I was really tired this afternoon. I wasn't able to go out for my run. But then the improv will come back and say, that's cool. At least you're paying attention. So there's this conversation happening. Fair enough.
Oh, that's really cool because Sam, I just need to tell Sam and Paul and all of you here and the recording that didn't my therapist just tell me that yesterday because I'm all over the place. She said, Bonnee, you need an actionable, itemized listing for each week. That's what she just told me. So now I'm ready to say, Paul, I need that writing partner and I need it now.
And Bonnee, I'm going to give you an analog version of it. The next time I see you, I'm going to give you an analog version of the full focus planner.
Thank you.
Sorry, I wanted to see if I could find something. Oh, this one won't have the other one. It's okay.
So I scanned it. I'm like, well, Paul is going real, like this thing is going real deep.
Well, so
And
I mean, and I'll find a couple examples, but one of the things it does toward the end of the reflection process is it has you go through and find what are your clear, actionable, and directly aligned, what's your purpose and what do you want to do next week. So, I put those at the top of my planner for the next week so I can kind of always look at that kind of thing. But, and this is a good example. I did that. Like these three things that I've listed here are my ideas. But then it says, hey, I love that you have these here, right? It talks back to me a little bit. You're not just doing stuff, you're pushing for visible change, deepening, right? It kind of summarizes and makes meaningful my list here in some way. But then it also asks me some questions to push me a little bit further in my thinking. So I'm finding this pretty helpful as we go. And then
I was impressed.
then each day, it breaks down. But and so I keep track, right? So okay, I went running these 3 times. I, here's my blue sky post, and so it is a journal, but and here's some stuff I did with David, right? But every once in a while I stop and say, okay, it looks like you got a clear sense. So AI talks back to me about what I'm doing, right?
And this is super cool, and it'd be really interesting to do this. I mean, just in life, like for help to organize, like you're talking about, Bonnee, in career, but also with writing, like to set goals for projects for longer. Like I'm working on an article right now, and I actually do that sort of on
the one you and I are supposed to be working on? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually have to talk to you about it.
Okay.
I need your help with a couple sections. But like I have a list on the side of my computer, just analog, of like next steps, and it's kind of how I keep going. But I could see it being really helpful to use writing partners for that.
Yeah, because I use I have my analog because I think technically the thing that we don't want to lose with technology is that the tactical aspect of actually writing something down and the things that go on in our brain, that's important. But then I will go use there's another platform that I won't go into details about it, but it just like I actually take what I wrote down in the book and I type it up. But sometimes I will go to a AI tool to help like me think about where I'm going, my goals, et cetera, et cetera. And now Paul has inspired me to play around with writing partners with that, and I'm going to do that subsequently. But I'm going to, like I say, have my students play around because so we have rotations. It's a work ready program, but I have a group of like side hustle crew, about 7 kids. So they're with me like more deeper time, so I can get them. Oh, let's take your goal for the week. Let's put it in writing partners, and let's see what it's doing. Because the thing about it is a lot of things that they're thinking about, but they're like stuck. They get stuck, and they need the prompting, the questioning to like get them unstuck, because they don't even have the articulation for it. Where at least we can articulate it. They don't even have the articulation, but it's in their head, and now it's just going to like pull it out and just make it much easier for them. So I'm excited to play around with it in our summer work program.
So so we can talk more about that. With David sitting here and design in mind, like having a platform where that kind of reflection is next to your work, like you just described, Jess, is really interesting. And always being able to choose between, I just want to put my thoughts down, and oh wait, now I'm going to ask for a little more feedback from AI, or now I'm just going with my thought. That back and forth is important. It does, by the way, also I can prompt it to look at the whole week and say, what kind of themes do you see coming up here, right? So that kind of thing happens too. But anyway, so lots of possibilities here.
And can I say, Paul, too?
Please.
I a part of even coming in growing into my PhD shoes was just doing a whole different thing for me as a person. My therapist called Summer of Investing in Myself.
I love
and,
it. Yes.
So I took professional photos. So even the photo that Paul put on the announcement that this was happening has writing partners in front of me, because I told the photographer I need to have connected to me in these photos what's important to me and what I'm doing in my life and what's springboarding me. So writing partners, I really want to say this, writing partners is a huge part of what it is I do and how I operate in teaching and learning and teaching, and just knowing that it's a two-way street. It's not one way at all, and I don't have all the answers, and that I'm growing in this new way of learning, and thinking about technology in my teaching.
Cool. I'm being respectful of time here and looking up at the clock and wanting Sam to kind of head us off here, if it makes sense. That was a nice sort of ending comment, Bonnee. But Sam, do you want to jump into?
Oh no, I thought you meant head us off because it's like getting to my bewitching hour. But
because you're disciplined too.
I have an alarm. Like people have alarms to wake up. I have alarm to make sure I get to sleep by 9:30. So yeah, it's getting close to that time. No, it's been great having dialogue and discourse. Thanks, Paul, for having Bonnee and I on, and we look forward to joining others in conversation subsequently.
Cool. Well, thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
Oh,
thank you.
All of you have contributed to what I do every day, each and every one of you, in your own way. So thank you.
Thank you, Bonnee.
Cool.
Thanks,
all right.
everyone.
We'll talk soon.
Good night, you guys.
Thanks.
All right.
Nice hour, guys.